Hey, welcome to Pat's Soundbites IGTV. Keeping new music alive is what I do on the radio and now on video. Conducting live chats with the artists and learning the stories behind their latest release and also playing their new video. Special thanks to my good friend Jody Best of Best Bet Promotions for coordinating and scheduling today's artist. Having over 20 plus years in the music industry, if you're looking for a highly successful promotion and marketing professional who's extremely motivated, look no further than Jody Best. For more information, contact Jody via email at bestbetpromo@yahoo.com. Special thanks today to my sponsor Go-Go Tuners. For all guitar players looking for a focus on ease of use, readability, durability, and accuracy, look no further. The Go-Go Tuner is the choice of many touring professionals and a favorite of casual players. Go-Go's signature green you're in and red you're out screen makes tuning quick and easy. For more information, go to the website at gogotuners.com. Special thanks to WBXO Classic Rock Radio Redefine, allowing me to keep new music alive on the radio airways on The Pat Show every Sunday from 5 to 8 Eastern Standard Time. Only on WBXO Classic Rock Redefined. And a big thank you to Mr. Evan Balzer for allowing me to use his amazing instrumental that you're hearing right now. It's called Trails. To find out more incredible music by Evan, go to his website at evanbalzer.com. And my special guest today is frontman, lead vocalist, songwriter Larry Studnicky of High Plains Drifters. And the band has released a very upbeat holiday single titled Santa, Bring My Girlfriend Back. We're going to talk to Larry about this band. We're going to play the song and video and a whole lot more right here on Pat's Soundbites IGTV. Hey, live on Pat's Soundbites IGTV, keeping new music alive on the radio and on video. It's the holiday season. I was going to actually wear my little Rudolph thing here, but I'm like, oh God, no.
I've been looking for those online, frankly.
I got my man Larry Studnicky here of the High Plains Drifters, and they got a great holiday, hilarious, cool track, which is actually in the Spotify number, in the top 5 of Spotify of one of the best Christmas holiday tracks this year. Santa, Bring My Girlfriend Back. How are you, Larry?
I'm doing really well, and I thank you for having me, Pat.
It's great. I love the clever lyrics. I love the fun listening music. I mean, I said after listening to that, I go, okay, they got an album out, and it brought me back to Virginia, Jennifer Anison, My First Amendment, Rearview Mirror, leaving New York and coming back to New York, and I go, oh my God, every Cliff Notes. I'm like, you guys, and what I love the best about the whole thing, Larry, is the fact that. And as we were kind of just talking about, I'm not a genre guy, even though we're classic rock. That borders, those boundaries are all gone. And it's great to hear your music go from rock, a little pop, a little Ramone type, a little punk, a little Americana, a little rockabilly. And I love diversity, and I love diversity all over. So, yeah, people go, well, I'm a blues guy, but I'm like, you're blues, whatever, do what you want to do. And I enjoyed listening to your debut album that came out last February 25th on 2019. I really enjoyed that. So now I got a good grasp of the High Plains Drifters. And now, besides the holiday track here, which is actually your second, I'm looking forward to your album that's coming out hopefully next year. But before we get into all that, how you making out this whole COVID thing? I know you said you're in Connecticut. I'm in New York. Oh God.
I knock on wood. I've been extraordinarily lucky. My family has been lucky. I came home on February 28th because my law firm closed its offices because we were moving out, not because we knew COVID was coming. We were literally just moving offices. I came home with the intention of hanging out for a while, take my daughter on spring break, and then go back to work in April. Instead, COVID hit, canceled the vacation. I've been holed up here ever since. I started going back into the city in June, pretty much every Thursday to start work on this second album that you just mentioned so kindly. We've been healthy. My daughter's school went back to school on campus September 1st. They've been there ever since. They have a nice big campus, 40 acres, and they're spread out and they're doing everything under their power. In fact, they had every student drive to the school the Sunday and Monday after Thanksgiving to be COVID tested before they'd let them come back from the Thanksgiving break. So I thank God. Everything's been great. I have a few friends recently who've caught the virus. They've all not been hurt badly. They've been knocked out for a few days with fever. They've been sleeping on and off for weeks after that, but no one who got horribly sick so far. Thank God, knock on wood.
Like you, blessed here. My wife, my son, my daughter, just doing the right thing. Wash your hands, stay away.
Yeah, but plus,
wear the mask.
I see the same 10 or 12 people in the world for the last 9 or 10 months. That's it. I mean, I see my family. I see a couple of checkout people at stores. When I go into work on the new record, I see the doorman at my producer's building on the Upper West Side. I see the garage attendant. Yeah, like that's it. I look at the same 12 or 14 people for 10 months. It's getting a little old.
Same here. Boy, do I miss live shows. I was on such a roll, meeting these bands, meeting my heroes, hanging out with them, and then my wife and I, we lucked out. We went on a cruise out of San Juan at the end of February and hit Aruba and all the islands down there. And people are texting me, and I'm like, I knew about it, but I didn't know the severity of it. And we actually got back to San Juan and got back home, and then
you're
it hit
really
the
lucky.
fan.
You're really lucky you came
way
back.
lucky that we weren't stuck
we
on a boat.
We
used Norwegian, and I'll give them a quick plug. We've always used them, and we got to San Juan at the terminal, and they were asking people, were you in China, Italy, blah, 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 even employees, and here's your money back. You're not getting on the boat. There was 1,500 people less on the boat between employees and guests. And it was everywhere you went was wash your hands. But we had a blast, but we really, really lucked out.
Well, you did luck out. We canceled a vacation to Hawaii to see Pearl Harbor, which was in the middle of March. So
that would have been really cool. And here talking about Pearl Harbor today.
Yeah, it's Pearl Harbor Day. That's right.
Pearl Harbor Day. We can never forget. I shouldn't
say this, but my dad didn't fight in the war. He was of age for Korea, but he was in an auto accident and didn't go because of had his hip destroyed. But he was close enough, right? He was a teenager during the Second World War that when I was growing up, and put this in or not in the interview, but I was raised by a father who would say on this day, he'd get up in the morning, he'd be leaving for the office, and he'd go, when I come home, kids, be ready to go out. We're going to go to the local mall, pull out our keys, and scratch the paint off some Japanese cars. I know I'm not supposed to say that.
My type of guy. Yeah, well, you know what? My father actually was in the South Pacific and a Purple Heart recipient, and we never knew it. We did research on it. My brother came home with some paperwork and said, Dad was like wounded and this and that. Long story short, I went to the county Veterans Affairs, and the director said, man, I don't know if we could find records. We got to verify it. And long story short, I call him about a month later, and he goes, oh, I've been meaning to call you. I got all your medals and everything here. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
All right. Now you're going to have to let me tell you my version of that story. My wife's father, Italian-American from Brooklyn, youngest boy, didn't have to fight because of the Sullivan Rule. You're old enough to know what that was.
Yeah.
Right? Didn't have to go, but enlisted as soon as he turned 18. Caught the last year of the war and was an infantry scout under General Douglas MacArthur during the island hopping campaign. So now I'm on the phone one day with, I didn't know this. I'm married to this girl. And one day she's on the phone with her father. And I just kind of yelled out, I said, would you please ask your dad what he did in the war? And she goes, Daddy says to tell you he was an infantry scout under General MacArthur during the last year, and you'll know what that means. And I looked at her and I said, I know exactly what it means. Like, you shouldn't even be here.
Sure,
You know, your father he was first wave ashore, wading in with his rifle over his head, being machine gunned by the Japanese. So he got bayoneted one day in the hand, and his lieutenant said, Tony, I'm going to put you up for a Purple Heart. And he says, no, Lieutenant, you can't put me up for a Purple Heart. You don't understand. My mother's Italian. She'll never sleep if she finds out I was wounded. And he refused the Purple Heart.
My father, we read this thing. My father did some sort of Rambo, said, okay, we're trapped. That's it. We're going for it. And he ran out there. But growing up, he never said a word. Although my one brother was served in the Marine Corps. My other brother served in the Navy. I went to college because I just didn't think I needed people to scream and yell at me, although I could do the push-ups and everything. But yeah, God bless your father-in-law and my dad.
Yeah, God bless them all. Everyone who fought in that contest.
Unbelievable. Yeah, Pearl Harbor Day today. But transition into music, which we all love dearly. As I mentioned before, I really enjoyed your tracks and your lyrics and the music. So where do I begin, Larry? Where was your love of music? Was it watching the Beatles in 1964?
It's funny you say that, because I was at my mother's parents' house in the Bronx on that day, and I knew that it was happening, but nobody would put it on. No one would.
Oh no!
So I missed it. But certainly my earliest connection with music were the early Beatles and Stones records. I mean, I grew up in the Washington, D.C. suburbs, the immediate Maryland suburbs of D.C. And there were two kinds of music that we grew up with. There was rock radio and there was soul radio. And I thank God I had both influences, because that was just a golden era for both. But on the rock side, it was the Beatles and the Stones and the rest of the British Invasion, and then, Creedence, and on and on and on. And yeah, I can remember myself, my brother, and some of the other guys in the neighborhood, we'd be down in somebody's blackened basement pretending to be the Beatles or the Stones. But I didn't play music. I didn't grow up playing music. I didn't grow up with a lot of music in the house. I was told I couldn't sing. I wasn't allowed into the my Catholic school choir.
You couldn't sing.
Yeah. So my brother, on the other hand, I have a brother younger than me. Not only does he get into the choir, they sang for Nixon in the White House. I mean, he got to sing for the president. So I missed all that, and I spent most of my young life. Songs started writing themselves in my head. I don't know how else to describe it. That's what happened. Somewhere around halfway through high school, I kind of dismissed it. I was a nose in the book kind of nerdy kid. And you sit there and you go, I can't possibly be writing real songs. I mean, but as rock radio started to die in the 70s, and things like Chicago and John Denver and disco started pushing rock further and further out, I'd be listening to some of the stuff that was rattling around in my head, and I'd sit there and I'd go, that's better than that. Like, I think it's better than that, but it still took me the better part of, another 15 years before I took a shot at recording anything. So, I mean, I didn't have the self-confidence or the strength of my own convictions to believe that the music in my head was worth anything when I was young.
Yeah. So you don't play an instrument at all? You don't jump on the piano?
To this day, I can pick out melody on a keyboard. What I do is I sit with my producer and one or more of the guitarists, typically, sometimes a keyboardist, and I tell them what I hear in my head, and I mimic the instrument sounds. I can do that for rhythm and electric guitar, strings, horns, basic rhythm patterns. I always joke with the band and my producer that I cannot hear in my head or write a bass track. I just can't. It's not something I'm capable of. I've never heard a bass line, but I can more or less mouth what I hear to them. And when I'm lucky, they get it immediately. Like you mentioned the song First Amendment Blues on our debut album. I sang that for my producer and one of the guitarists, and I said to them, I said, "That's a Ramones song."
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, yeah, absolutely. And the first demo came back. It was perfect. It was just perfect. And it was a Ramones style pop punk song. On other songs, this song, "Santa Bring My Girlfriend Back," I had the lyrics and the melody almost instantly the day after Christmas, coming up on 2 years ago. It popped into my head, sang it into my iPhone in my Christmas on the morning of December 26th, 2018. But I wasn't sure musically where it was going. I knew that I didn't want it to go in that Americana direction that, for instance, Virginia and some of the other songs on our debut album go. And I said to the guys when we did the first demo and we sent it out to the full band, I said, "This can't lean remotely country or Americana." I said, "In fact, I think we're going to put a horn section on it. So think along those lines." And John Maycomb, who's one of our guitarists and a super talented indie singer-songwriter in his own right, and Greg Cohen, who's producing this album and produced the second half of album one, they worked out the basic arrangement. And I heard some horn lines in my head, which Greg programmed onto verse one. I didn't hear anything beyond verse one. I said, "Here, I hear some basic horn parts. Let's put it on verse one. Greg, you go find a horn section and just tell them that if what I wrote makes sense, do it. If not, throw it out, and then do whatever they think is right." We lucked out.
He hit a home run.
We lucked out. The New York guys that Greg was going to use were booked solid. And he went online and he found these guys, Michael Cordoni and I think it's Jesse McGinty, who had grown up in Buffalo together, I think gone to the University of Florida in Gainesville together. They call themselves the 305 Horns after the Florida area code. And they're out in LA. Greg found them online and they've played on a lot of big records, Ariana Grande, Kanye, blah, blah, blah. And we sent them the almost finished track. I mean, almost everything was there. And they kept what I heard on verse one. And then when we heard what they did after that, we just sat back and went, holy shit. It's like they killed it. They just killed it. And they took the song to a whole other, I mean, it's what I was hoping for, but never in a million years did I expect what they did. It made the song so instantly classic. Because, you know, I'd said to people, this should be something that Sinatra or Dean Martin could do today. And that means horns in a big band sound. And we lucked out. We got it. It was a Christmas miracle, you know?
And it's definitely different than Get Me Home from Christmas Eve, the one that you did before. Totally different. It wasn't, I didn't get that vibe at all.
Well, no. Get Me Home by Christmas Eve. We've had some, it probably would be a little more broadly listened to or distributed or whatever if it didn't lean so Americana or country. But when I worked it out with, again, John Maycomb back then and Charles Zarnecki, who's playing the keyboards on this one, Santa Bring My Girlfriend Back, but he was producing the first half of the first record. And I said to Charles, I said, you know, Charles, I hear a pedal steel on this. So I pulled it in that country Americana direction, and it has limited the song's ability to get played as a result. So I keep thinking I want to take that song and do a version of it with a children's choir. And then I think we'll be okay.
Ooh, wow.
Even by Christmas Eve with the children's choir.
Well, but this is, you know, this is perfect timing, Larry. It's just, we need to be in a good mood. We need some happy, laughing, you know, grandma got run over by a reindeer type of deal. That's what I hear with this.
That's the song.
This makes people like, wow, this is fun.
We should be so negative. Lucky. We should be so lucky as to be compared to Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, or in my head, I think back to the fictional song in the Hugh Grant movie about a boy, where he's living off the royalties from his father's song, which I think in the movie was called Santa's Super Sleigh, right? And I mean, to be mentioned with something like Santa Got Run Over by a Reindeer, which is played all the time to this day.
Every year.
Yeah, every year. I mean, you hope that's what happens if you write a Christmas song. And frankly, when we walked out of the studio in August with a rough mix of this, there were no horns, no keyboards, but the basic song was there. Everybody sat back and said, we think we just did something really cool today, you know? And it seems like a lot of the radio and both terrestrial and online world are agreeing with us. We'll
No,
see.
I love it. We're going to definitely put it on our rotation without a doubt. It has a really good vibe to it that we've been in this crappy 2020, and I think people could really use it. So I applaud you guys for doing that.
Thank you very much. Like my own mother is obviously a very biased audience, but I knew that we had hit it out of the park when my mother listened to it and wrote me back by email and said it made me smile.
Cool.
And that's what I hear from a lot of people say. Put a smile on my face, and that's after this year. That's what we were trying to do. Make people smile, get some Christmas cheer back in people's lives.
Inspired by a boozy, drama-filled Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
Say it isn't so, Larry.
No,
come on.
Unfortunately, I wasn't completely hammered.
I almost thought it was like my house. Are you kidding me?
No, it was. Have you ever seen there's a great Thanksgiving. There aren't many great Thanksgiving movies, but there's one with Holly Hunter and a young Robert Downey Jr. and that guy who played Bobby Donnell in the.
I love Holly Hunter. Oh God,
Holly Hunter, yeah, and it's called Home for the Holidays, and the whole movie is family drama. I can't remember if Charles Durning is the dad, but one of the guys like a Charles Durning is the father. The whole movie is family drama, but it's the Thanksgiving, and this was it was my family. I have to be clear, it wasn't my wife's family. I had a good chunk of the Studnicky family over, and there was a bit of a brouhaha, a bit of a blow up on Christmas afternoon. I'm not going to go into details, and things got a little testy and a little ugly, and whatever. I'm not.
But we're all good, right?
Well, yes, but I mean, literally the next morning, I'm the only guy up. Everyone else is sound asleep. I'm in the kitchen, puttering around, making coffee. And those first two lines of the song just came out of nowhere. I've been drinking way too much this Christmas. My friends all want to know the reason why. And I had it. I had the lyrics. I had the melody. I think the next two lines came right after that. And I sat back and I said, why is this guy drinking so much? I mean, I knew why I was, right? I knew why I was drinking, but why is the narrator drinking now? And I didn't think anyone had done the angle that Santa stole his girlfriend, and that's what occurred to me, so I went with it.
No, it's great. That bastard steals your girlfriend, but
well, he has superpowers. We cannot compete with him. So,
oh my goodness, I read that line and I go, well, we try to say no politics, no this, no that.
Yeah, right.
Shut up.
Right.
It's a happy thing. Let's have fun.
It's the right advice. I mean, what do your parents tell you growing up? Right. Don't discuss religion, politics, or money in public.
Exactly.
Okay? So,
no, it's a great track, and it's a lot of fun. And thank goodness that you also put out the video. We live in such a visual world, and I mean the video can go viral tomorrow. How nobody would know who you are today.
How old are your kids, Pat?
29, no, 30 and 31.
Okay. Well, I have a 13-and-a-half-year-old daughter. I started late. Thank God I did. I almost missed the whole experience. But there are certain songs that, for my daughter, and I think this is true of her generation, they don't exist unless they're in some form of video. So, perfect example. Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell doing Ain't No Mountain High Enough. I can guarantee you my daughter has heard that song growing up countless times in my car stereo, on my home, one of my Pandora stations, or who knows what. It did not become a real song for her until we hunkered down for COVID. We were we were quarantining and cocooning. And there was one week where I said to the girls, my wife and daughter, I said, this week we're going to watch sports underdog movies, right? So we watched Rudy.
Nice.
Remember the Titans.
Nice.
And Hoosiers over the course of the week.
Yeah.
Right? All great films. All great films
shows.
about
great movies.
But Ain't No Mountain High Enough is a big part of the soundtrack in Remember the Titans. And my daughter heard it. And for her, that made it a real song. Next thing I know, I'm driving her to school. I have about a 15-minute, and she's got her iPhone, and she's playing Ain't No Mountain High Enough. And I'm like going, I'm saying, where did you hear that song? And she goes, well, in the movie the other night. I go, yeah, and you've heard it about 100 times in the past, but you never paid attention. Same thing happened with Tears for Fears. Everybody Wants to Rule the World. She either heard it in a TikTok or I guess it was a TikTok video, maybe some other video online, but I've played that song 1,000 times for her and it didn't register,
Larry, let's give kudos to the guys in the band. The guys, and I see a couple of girls going through your website and pictures and gallery. I dig into everything because I really want to try to understand and showcase as much as we can. We'll talk about the band name in a second, but let's give kudos to Charles, and I want to say John and Michael and Kyle and
these guys are, I'm the least musically professional guy in this group, right? I'm someone who is lucky that music writes itself in my head, right? And I know that's not weird for songwriters. You see plenty of songwriters interviewed, and they'll tell you about how the song literally came to them in a dream, or they woke up humming it, or whatever. So I'm lucky. I can't turn that into the kind of music that we put out without these guys and girls, and they're all phenomenal on different levels. I started with John Makem, who had been recording since his teens under his own band's name, Binge, B-I-N-G-E, and then in his own name, licensed about an album or two worth of music in the late 90s, early 2000s to television shows like Party of Five and Dawson's Creek. I mean, he's an accomplished guy, just never got signed, but a super talented songwriter with a perfect sense for where to fix a song when I'm stuck. If I need a bridge and I can't write a bridge, I go, John, I need a bridge. And he'll bring back, listen to Virginia, the bridge on Virginia with cannonballs and swimming pools. That's the bridge. He wrote that while watching his sons cannonballing into a swimming pool. Okay. And he brought it to us in the studio, and it was perfect. It was just perfect. So, John, super talented. Charles Studnicky, when I was introduced to him by one of my law partners, and my partner, who was in his 70s at the time, said, this guy is the single most talented musician I've met in 50 years. Charles at the time was assistant musical director for Jersey Boys on Broadway. He had no reason to work with me. He didn't know me from Adam. I sat down over dinner with him and John and talked to them about that first Christmas song. And they said, why not? Let's give it a shot. And then Charles went on to produce half the record. He's still working with us now. He's in Germany. We don't have him full time. His wife's getting a PhD over there, but he did the brilliant keyboard parts you hear on this song were Charles. He did them in Germany. He sent them over. My producer, Greg Cohen, listened to it and said, we may not use all of it, but we also don't have to change a single note. It's perfect.
Wow.
Right? So he's now Mike Campo, a little bit older than me. Up until the last few years, Mike made his living as a professional guitar instructor back when kids wanted to play live instruments. So he's about as good as you're going to get. I mean, in the New York blues scene, he's in that group of solid, known blues guitarists who, when the big blues acts come to town, if they're short a guy or two and they need someone, Mike's one of the guys that gets the call.
Wow.
Right? So he'll sit in. Go back and listen to Rearview Mirror on the debut album. There's an unbelievable guitar solo at the end.
Yeah, I have that written down here.
And that's DeCampo, and that came about. And this is why I love the creative process, and I love being in the studio with these guys because such cool stuff happens. We thought we were just about done with that song. We were mixing it, and this was about a month after Chuck Berry had passed away. And Mike was we were all in the studio, but Mike had one of his guitars. He wasn't supposed to play, but he had a couple of his guitars there. And he said, plug me in, Greg. I think I hear a little Chuck Berry thing at the end of this song. I just want to give it a shot. And he played that guitar solo in a single take. Nothing was comped.
He killed it.
He killed it. He killed it. Yeah. So, I mean, he's unbelievably talented. Charles, John, Kyle started out, he was our engineer in the studio, but also a drummer. And we were working on Virginia. The original rhythm track on Virginia had a much softer, country-ish, shuffle-y thing going on. And I didn't think it was right. And I asked Kyle to just take over and give me a more robust, powerful, I told him what I heard, and he nailed it. And he's been our drummer ever since. Dave Richards is our bass player. He's a buddy of Kyle's. He was probably the last piece that had to fall into place. I say that this band gelled over doing the second half of the first album. And when they went in the studio back on August 8th, and I watched them we had everybody playing simultaneously in their own little isolation booths. We knocked out 2 songs in less than 4 hours. Santa Bring My Girlfriend Back, and another one called Since You've Been Gone. And I just looked at Greg Cohen, the producer. I said, that was astonishing to watch. I mean, everybody was just
to have that chemistry,
yeah,
they feel it and see it,
right,
and see music come to life.
Yeah,
and you
was
go,
so cool. It was
these
so
guys
cool.
are like, what is going on?
I'm super excited now because we're going back into the studio with everybody on Saturday, December 19th. And we'll be shooting to do another 2 or 3 songs in just one day. And I'm really curious to see what they do. I mean, we have rough demos, so it's, some of the parts are already done, but everybody brings something unforeseen and special to it,
Do the other guys write as well, Larry?
Well, John writes occasionally. He wrote the chorus on, John Makem wrote the chorus on the first Christmas song, Get Me Home by Christmas Eve. I thought I had written the chorus, which is now the bridge, but John came in with the chorus, and we all sat back and went, that's better. So that became the chorus. He wrote the bridge on Virginia. We have a song coming up on this record. It's in the can, it's done, called He Reminds Me of You. It became a duet because John came up with something. It started out as a song that I wrote for one of our backup singers, Christina Benedetto, to do as the lead singer. And she's the lead on it. I'm not singing on it at all, background vocals. And it's sung from the perspective of a girl who's missing a guy that arguably she shouldn't really be missing because maybe their relationship was borderline sadomasochistic or messed up in some way, right? That's kind of where the lyrics take you. And John came in with a guy part where the ex is also missing her. And the parts that he wrote, they're very Beatle-y and they're super memorable. So yeah, he writes. Everybody, all those guys write on the music side, depending on the song. But on the lyrics and melody side, it's been mostly me, and then occasionally me and John.
High Plains Drifter, were you just focused, or you watched the Clint Eastwood, or
no, not really. This is really because it's like all the good names are taken, right? It's like try to go out and get a website. You think you have a name for some cool new website.
And somebody has it already.
Yeah, somebody has it. All the great band, all the great band names are gone, or so it seems, right? So I must have spent a month or two as we were getting near the end of the first album, trying to come up with a name. And what I found myself doing, there was a period where I was traveling a lot in between my home, which at the time was right outside New York City. I wasn't in Connecticut yet, and my mother's home in Maryland on what they call the Eastern Shore, which means east of the Chesapeake Bay Bridge. And I was going back and forth a lot to Mom's house that summer, and it was just me. And I had these 3-hour drives there and 3-hour drives back. And I would just, without being too careless, I would just look around for inspiration. It could be road signs, a passing truck, just my mind wandering. I was trying to come up with names, and I was spitting them, dictating them into my phone on my dashboard. And I don't know what triggered the idea that maybe we'd try the High Plains Drifters, but that's the one that stuck out of like 50 or 70,
Yeah, no. Hey, if it works, it works.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, I'm a huge fan of all the Clint Eastwood flicks.
Oh yeah, Josie Wales, Clint Eastwood, all that good stuff. What was I just thinking? Well, when you said that, going back to Your House and Mom's House, I mean, Rear View Mirror. Yeah, I mean, the lyrics of Rear View Mirror is like
Rear View Mirror. Rear View Mirror was written in 2 parts, more than 30 years apart. I wrote the first lines of Rear View Mirror as I was leaving New York City, going out the Lincoln Tunnel on Route 3, heading west into New Jersey. I was on my way to a mob-run recording studio down around Colts Neck, where the band that Mike DeCampo was in at the time, this is how I met Mike DeCampo. The band that Mike DeCampo was in at the time was recording an album there, and I was contributing about half the songs, and their lead singer was doing the other half of the songs. This was my first foray into recorded music. And when I finally got up the balls to see if a band could turn some of my stuff into real songs. And I was heading out of the tunnel. I looked in my mirror. I literally looked in my mirror, and I got that line. I'm heading out of New York, heading out tonight. Blah, and I'll remember New York in my rearview mirror. I only had the chorus.
I could visualize it.
Yeah.
I'm a story guy. I'm a lyric guy.
I'm a storytelling kind of songwriter.
Yeah. I close my eyes and I'm like, oh my God, I'm on 17. Like you said, going down to Route 3 by Giant Stadium, getting on Jersey Turnpike, and then you look in the mirror and you see
that's right. And that's
the Empire State Building.
That's exactly what happened. But I had nothing after that. I had nothing until we were probably halfway through album 1. And then I don't know where it came from. I didn't have a verse. I didn't have any melody for a verse, but it came out of nowhere. And I wrote those verses like while we were recording. I didn't know this song was going to be on that record, but I was lucky. And 30 years after the fact, I wrote the verses.
Wow, 30 years. That's cool. Yeah. Have you ever got a phone call from Jennifer Anison?
People keep asking that. We don't know if she's seen the video. I want to be clear. I'm a huge fan of hers. I have been since one of my colleagues, back when I was a music lawyer, one of my colleagues used to run home. Lawyers don't, if you know New York lawyers, we don't leave work at 5 or 6 or 7 o'clock. We live at 9 or 10 or 11 o'clock. But every Thursday he was rushing home because it's pre the DVRs, pre-TiVo. Yeah, sure. You had your VHS tapes, and you could have maybe set it up to record Friends, but he had to run home every Thursday to watch Friends on TV. And I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And so I started to watch.
We got tickets for the Ranger game. Come on.
Yeah, but I started to watch, and I was like, this is an incredibly well-written, funny show. So I watched it on and off, but not religiously. But then I'd see it in reruns, and I'm a fan. She's an amazing comedic actress. I've told other people who've asked me about her. I consider her to be the Barbara Stanwyck of our era, which is for me about as high praise as you can give a woman good comedian. And no, she's never, I don't know if she's seen it. We've never heard from her. We'd love to, it's like we'd probably get at least one more great song out of it if she appeared somehow.
When I post our chat today on Instagram, I'm going to tag her to it.
Well, thank you.
To see if we could get something. Before I let you go, Larry, you mentioned lawyer, and I thought something that I found was really interesting, that you were a lawyer who at the turn of the millennium structured and closed the landmark label publisher deals that ushered in the world of digital interactive radio. Wow. Good for you. Wow. Tell me about that.
I can't take credit for the idea. I had been partners at the law firm with a guy named David Benjamin, who's my friend to this day. And David said to me back in 1998, he said, Larry, if we're going to stay relevant in this business, we got to go digital. This business is going digital. And he said, I'm working on something. And when the time is right, I'm going to ask you to come along with me. He goes, I don't know what's going to happen with it, but he had teamed up with a guy with a technology background, and the two of them came up with the concept for the kind of radio that you now know as Spotify and Pandora and Apple and blah, blah, blah. But our company was called Click Radio, and we were the first licensed interactive internet delivered radio company in the world. And someone had to go out and hammer out those licenses. They didn't exist, right? They had to be literally created out of whole cloth. I'm pretty good at what I do. I went and hid in one of my college buddies' weekend houses upstate New York over Labor Day weekend of 1999, and I banged out a draft of what David and I thought would work as a license for an interactive internet delivered radio station. And it went from us to Universal Music, who agreed to, I give them a lot of credit. Nobody else was ready to take that leap, but Universal saw what was coming and they licensed us. And then we went on to get licensed by the rest of the major labels and most of the major publishers until the planes hit the towers on 9/11 and our venture capital backers pulled the plug on us.
Wow. Yeah, but I mean, just to know that you were part of that groundbreaking of where we are today.
It was a cool thing to do. I'm glad. I mean, Yeah, I mean, I'm glad I did it. It's one of the single most meaningful things I did in my life. But at the time, you know, when it was literally like those 2 weeks after 9/11, when we were alive but barely alive, and New York City was, you know, just creaking along, and we were just north of the 14th Street borderline where they stopped all traffic, and that's where, I don't know if you remember, that's where all the excuse me,
all the memorials, everything going on. I got your brother.
We're walking around. You're trying to work, or you're trying to save your company, but all those memorials,
you can't.
The candles and the pictures, right? It was overwhelming. It was overwhelming.
Looking for somebody, looking for this, looking for
and
that.
It was about 2 weeks in that environment before we pulled the plug, and I had to stand up in front of what was left of the company and tell them we were over. So it's, I mean, I always have.
Well, I didn't mean to bring you back to that.
Okay. It's okay. I'm really glad. I wouldn't be where I am now if I hadn't done that. I mean, every step I've taken has led me to where I am. And right now I'm in a really great place.
Musically, that was a big move. That's an outstanding, groundbreaking accomplishment. I mean, to be able to talk to you. I was the guy that figured out how to draft it, but it was the guys that founded the company who had the idea, and everything that Spotify and Pandora and Apple and Amazon have done are built on their shoulders. Wow. When's the release date on the next album? Are you looking at 2021?
I'm guessing second quarter of 2021. We have 3 songs in the can. We'll be in the studio on December 19th. We'll knock out 3 more songs. We have the other 6 songs mapped out, and they're in various stages of being demoed. Christmas and New Year's will get in the way. Thank God. We'll get but we won't be doing any recording during those 2 weeks. I'm hoping we'll knock out the last 6 songs in basic form during January and spend, February and March finishing the mixes, and we can do a second quarter release. I'm pretty optimistic about that.
Well,
what the band did when they were in the studio this past August just blew my mind. So if they keep working together like that, I think we'll be ready.
You got the chemistry, it sounds like, and you think about your friend here in Poughkeepsie, and I'll be glad to get you back on the Zoom, and looking forward to the next album. The band is called High Plains Drifter. You can go to highplainsdrifter.com. There's a
High Plains Drifters hyphenated. Plains-drifters.com.
There you go. And HPD Music on Twitter and on Instagram. It's in the top 5 on Spotify, which is a great thing. Santa, bring back my
girlfriend back.
Right, I want to keep saying
that's
Santa,
all right.
but
I have to be honest. The song was almost called "I've Been Drinking Way Too Much This Christmas."
No. Everybody could relate to that.
Everyone can, yeah. So I mean, it took me a while to get to Santa, bring my girlfriend back. So.
Well, Larry, I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I have.
I've had a blast. It was great talking to you. I'm glad that you and I will both be spared the 7 fishes this Christmas Eve. Yeah. But thank you for playing the record. Thank you for taking time to show us some love. I'm really, really grateful to you. I hope we'll stay in touch, and I wish you and all your listeners a very Merry Christmas.
You as well, my man. Time to play a little Santa, Bring Back My Girlfriend right now on Pat Soundbites IGTV.
I've been drinking way too much this Christmas. My friends all want to know the reason why. I keep drinking like a fish all Christmas. Well, at Thanksgiving, my love told me goodbye. She ran off with a fat man and his reindeer. He promised her she'd have eternal life, with no need to turn into a vampire. My girl is planning on becoming Santa's wife. Santa, please bring back my girlfriend. She's the angel on my tree. She's my mistletoe and holly when she's smiling back at me. I do love her, so I beg you bring her back, or on Christmas Day I'll have a heart attack. Tell me more. Pour me a whiskey. Tell me more. Get me a beer. Tell me more. I'm tired of talking about my lack of Christmas cheer. Santa, turn your sleigh around and bring her back, or on Christmas Day I'll have a heart attack. I've been drinking way too much this Christmas. People comment on my bloodshot droopy eyes. I keep drinking like a fish all Christmas. So sad, my girlfriend told me a pack of lies. She promised me we'd always be together, but behind my back she planned a great escape with that fat man and his sleigh and those damn reindeer, saying red's my favorite color anyway. Santa, please bring back my girlfriend. She's the angel on my tree. She doesn't have a virus. Her hands are always clean. Santa, turn your sleigh around and bring her back, or on Christmas Day I'll have a heart attack. Tell me more. Pour me a whiskey. Tell me more. Get me a beer. Tell me more. I'm tired of talking about my lack of Christmas cheer. Santa, turn your sleigh around and bring her back, or on Christmas Day I'll have a heart attack. I'm still drinking way too much this Christmas. Every sleigh I see reminds me I'm alone. But I'll keep drinking way too much this Christmas, pretending Santa Claus is just a plastic gnome. Tell me more. Pour me a whiskey. Tell me more. Get me a beer. Tell me more. I'm tired of talking about my lack of Christmas cheer. Santa, turn your sleigh around and bring her back, or on Christmas Day I'll have a heart attack. Santa, please bring back my girlfriend. She's the angel on my tree. She's my mistletoe and holly. When she's smiling back at me, I do love her, so I beg you bring her back. Bring her back! Or on Christmas Day I'll have a heart attack. Turn your sleigh around and bring my girlfriend back, or on Christmas Day I'll have